friends, welcome to or welcome back to the channel Jane Reads. My name is Jeanette, and today I'm going to talk about the 5 books I have read so far in the month of September. And I just realized they're not in the right order, but that's okay. Okay, so the first book is Until I Found You by Victoria Bylin. This is a contemporary romance. This is the old cover. It was originally released in 2014, I want to say. Yes. And it has been re-released with this cover, I think in 2023, maybe 2024, fairly recently anyways. And this is a reread, or was a reread for me. I originally read it January of 2022. I gave it 4 stars. And then this month I read it and I gave it 4 stars. So we are following 2 characters, a male and a female, who are searching, let's say. So one has become a Christian in the last 6 months and has made a commitment not to date for a year, at least a year. The other one is searching and kind of not really sure what they believe. And over the course of the story, we see them learn to trust God and kind of accept a faith in God, or become a Christian. But then struggling with all that entails and what does that mean, and kind of really questioning, right? And they also have no plans to date ever. They just don't see love in their life. Well, these 2 meet through circumstances. And so Kate has an advertising job in LA, but her grandmother takes a fall. Her grandmother lives in the California mountains, just outside LA. Not that far, I don't think, because it's like an hour and a half drive into the city. But far enough that Kate takes a sabbatical from her job to move up and to assist her grandmother, not only health-wise, but also with the newspaper that her grandmother runs. And then Nick works at that newspaper as a freelancer and knows the grandmother, but Kate does not know that. On her way up to the house, Kate gets into an accident, and Nick happens to be the person who rescues her. Now, that all happens in the first chapter. Okay, so then they discover that who each other are. They have this mutual connection, and they become friends. And so then slowly the friendship feelings develop, but they both have this decision that they have made and what is going to happen. Throughout the course of the story, we are following them dealing with this decision and kind of what do they do. The one that's made the commitment not to date for a year is determined to stick that out, but now they're having feelings for this other person. But is this really what God wants them to? Did God ask them not to date, or did they set that on themselves? And we're following them questioning that. Meanwhile, Kate gets pulled back into her old job through circumstances, and then Kate is trying to juggle everything that is going on with her grandmother, with the newspaper, with her job, and what is going to happen. Like, I felt for Kate, like how, and then seeing what's happening in Nick's life and what is going on. I really liked these 2 characters. And then there's a whole storyline with the California condors. I had no idea about them until I originally read the book. And it made me research them and just find out more information, because it talks about how they were going extinct and how they were repopulated in a way. And I found that really interesting. So I would recommend this, especially for like new Christians kind of seeking, because it really seeks out like very realistic characters seeking out, searching, and I think new Christians especially could really relate to the characters in this book. Okay, then I picked up Yours is the Night by Amanda Dykes. This was the first book I'd ever read by Amanda Dykes. I'd heard that her writing is very lyrical, flowery, poetic, and I didn't really know what that meant because I had never tried her writing before. As soon as I started the book, I was like, okay, I totally understand why people describe it that way, because that is the way it flowed. So in this one, it is set around World War I, 1918, and it is told from 5 points of view. 1, 2, 3, yes, 5 points of view. And mainly American, but then there is a French woman involved. They are over in France. And each character has a completely different role. They are very different from each other. We are following some soldiers in the army. I don't know. But like, we've got a captain, a private, a journalist, and a preacher, and then a French woman. So like, very different roles. They were easy to distinguish between who was who to follow. I was fully connected with Matthew and Mira. Those were the 2 points of view I wanted to follow, stay with. Every time it switched to one of the other characters, I didn't really care that much. I just didn't connect with them the same way. And they each had like hardships they were dealing with, issues they were dealing with, but they didn't touch my heart as much as Matthew and Mira did. Where I struggled with this story was the realisticness of it, I think. I don't know what they're doing, what happens, like kind of what progresses the story. I don't know if that really would have happened, but maybe that's just me not knowing enough about the Great War and what soldiers did over there at this time. And like, would these group of people really be together like this? I don't know. And so I wasn't fully invested in the story. And this took me forever to read, or it felt like it took me forever to read. And I had the audiobook and I was reading the physical book. And I mean, it took me a week. Like, it wasn't like it was forever. It just took me a while, longer than a lot of books take me. I found it to be a slow read because of that. I think because of the type of writing style, and it's much more descriptive rather than dialogue between the characters, and I prefer character interactions dialogue. So yeah, for me it's a 3.5 star because I connected so much with 2 of the characters, wanting to follow that storyline, whereas the other ones weren't for me. Okay, then I continued with historical fiction and picked up Anchor in the Storm by Sarah Sundin. This is a World War II story set in Boston. We are following Arch, who is the best friend of Jim, who we met in book 1, and they are assigned to a ship whose kind of home base is Boston. Then the female character is Lillian, who is Jim's sister, who has come to Boston to work as a pharmacist. But Lillian kind of has things against her. She has a prosthetic leg due to an accident that happened when she was young. And she is kind of a little bit, she tries to hide her handicap and kind of ashamed of it, doesn't want people to know, because then that really makes people look at her differently. Throughout the course of the story, we see her kind of embrace the handicap in a way and not be ashamed of it and be able to joke about it and use it to her advantage at times, not in a negative way, because that could sound really negative, but not in a negative way. She gets in a very dangerous situation and people assume she can't do anything about that because of her leg. But she is able to overcome the handicap. and kind of overcome the whole situation. And I loved Lillian. And then the two of them start a friendship forming. Arch is attracted to Lillian right away from chapter 1. But Lillian's like, you're my best friend's brother. I don't care for you. And he comes a little bit like he knows that he's good looking, and she sees him coming across a little bit arrogant. And I don't know, I didn't see that, but I understood where she was coming from. But I liked Arch in book 1. So I was like looking for his story and wanting to know about him and see him find. And Lillian just seemed like the perfect match for him, because Arch comes from money and Lillian is not looking after money. And he's dated a lot of women who just want him for his money, and he wants somebody who wants him for him. He doesn't care about the money. And so then the two end up getting involved into figuring out what is going on with a drug ring. And it kind of takes turns that both of them are in danger at different times. And the way they work together and overcome, and kind of the strength that is shown by both of them, I absolutely loved this story. Like, I loved both characters, and I was so invested, I did not want to put it down. And I read this book in my ideal reading format, which I will talk about in an upcoming video that's actually already scheduled. So yeah, you'll find out what my ideal reading format is, but yeah, I was able to do that with this book. And I was able to do that with my next book as well, which was A Sparkle of Silver. Well, I can't even say the title. A Sparkle of Silver by Liz Johnson. This is book 1 of her Georgia Coast romance series. My understanding is the series does not connect to each other with character-wise, but they are all set around the same place, I think. Been a while. I have read the whole series, but now I do not remember. So this was a reread for me. As you can see, I had an advanced reader copy of it. And so when I originally read it in September of 2018, I gave it 5 stars. This time, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did, but I gave it 4 stars. We are following Millie, who is caring for her ailing grandmother who is dealing with Alzheimer's or dementia. I think it's Alzheimer's. And she basically is struggling to find funds to care for her grandmother. Her grandmother hints that there is a treasure to be found in the chateau on St. Simon's, and from her great-grandmother's diary. So Millie goes in search of that diary to try to figure out. She takes a 3rd job as kind of one of the reenactors at the historical home. And while trying to find the diary, she runs into Ben, who is a security guard at the chateau. And the two end up teaming up to try to find the diary and find this treasure, and then they've agreed to share the treasure. But is it as easy as that? What is going on? I think this time when I was reading it, I was like, as if they could go into a chateau and find this diary that, like, or find they expect to find like hidden items other than the diary, like other items that are being hidden in the chateau. And I was like, as if the Historical Society hasn't gone through and knows every item that is in this house or this place. I don't know. I guess very cynical in some ways. So that took it down, because that's all I could think about was that I don't think they'll find. Like, I think as the house is being restored and brought back to its original condition, I think some of the things they expect to find, or some of the places they look, have already been searched at some point in time. But Yeah, I don't know. But that was, yeah. So besides the mystery of that, they do find the diary, and then there are journal entries from her great-grandmother from 1929 of her time spent at the chateau for the summer. And I loved the journal entries. I love reading diary entries. It just really gets you into the character's head and gets to know what they're dealing with, experiencing, going through, thinking. And there is a little romance that is developing at that time. Then there's like kind of the great-grandmother has two guys, one who she's kind of seeing and one she's kind of pulled to. So which way does the romance go? I was fully invested in that because I cannot say I remembered the ending. Like, I had no idea what really happened. And so when it was revealed, it was like, oh yeah, that's it. For the great-grandmother's side, I remembered on the main character's side. So then we have Millie and Ben who, while they're searching and trying, they get to know each other. And we find out that Ben is trying to right his mother's actions were wrong, trying to make correct for things that his mom did. It turns out that his mother and Millie's grandmother have a connection. And once that connection is revealed, it looks like impossible for the two of them to ever stay friends or anything else to develop between them. I did not like Millie's reaction when she found out who Ben's mom was. I just felt she was so unfair to Ben because you're not your mother. Like, he is not responsible for his mother. He was a child at the time. And I just that rubbed me the wrong way so bad. And I think that's really what brought the story down for me, is that as well. Yeah, that's totally it. But I really enjoyed the way everything wrapped up, and I really enjoyed the way it wrapped up, and things looked very positive by the end. And yeah, it was a fun story with a mystery. Like, it's a contemporary romance with a mystery aspect. And I love kind of the way the two of them work together to try to solve the mystery. And then the last book I have to talk about is Meddling with Mistletoe. I listened to this book in a day. It's only 280 some pages. I think it was 6.5 hours on audiobook, I think. And this is a contemporary romance, Christmas-based story set on PEI, with the Red Door Inn being the main location. Did I even say who the author of this book was? Liz Johnson, in case I didn't. So I have read the Red Door Inn series, and I think I've read all the books now. I think this was the last book I had to read that is out in that kind of whole series and companions that have been added on since then. What I really enjoyed about this story was seeing characters from the Red Door Inn and Where Two Hearts Meet. I think that's book 2 of that series, I think. Seeing them or having mention of them. It was so fun. This picks up approximately 10 years after the Red Door Inn started, like book 1. And so we're seeing like kind of where the characters are now, how their family has grown. And there are 2 kids, one especially, that kind of plays a large role in this story, and kind of some of her comments and how she says people's names and stuff was really entertaining. So we are following Whitney, who's kind of being almost not a drifter. She's grown up in the area, but hasn't really decided what she's going to do full time. She kind of starts something and then kind of gets distracted and starts with something else, and gets distracted and goes with something else. I mean, she is fairly young. She's only 24. But she hasn't like fully, what's her dreams? She hasn't fully realized what her dreams or what she wants to pursue. So at the opening, she has decided to go to culinary school. and she is trying to make enough money to go to culinary school. So she is baking pies. But her oven in her apartment breaks. So she goes to the Red Door Inn to ask her friend if she can use their kitchen. She does end up being able to use the kitchen, but she also ends up caring for the kids. And then she has to make breakfast for the guests that are staying at the inn. Then we have Daniel and Ruby, who are staying at the inn. Daniel is Aretha Franklin's nephew, who is there to help Aretha kind of with something she's trying to deal with. And Aretha has determined that she wants to match Daniel and Ruby up. And everybody can see they're not a match. But Aretha's like, no, this is it. And she pulls Whitney into her scheme to try to match the two of them up. And Whitney agrees to it because she just does. I'm not going to tell you why she does, but she agrees to it. Well, over the course of time, she realizes that she has feelings for Daniel. And what is going to happen? It is a really cute story. Very fast-paced, light, very quick read, very Christmassy because you've got to talk about prep for the Christmas season, prepping for a Christmas pageant, having to kiss under mistletoe, right? Like, what does that all entail? And yeah, it's just really entertaining. There is a kind of a third act breakup in between it, but the way things are resolved, or I don't even know if it's the way it's resolved, but the way they come together at the end was so entertaining and so like heartwarming and happy. So yeah, this was a fun read. I gave it 3 stars because it's just light. It kind of seemed much more based on appearance, and they kind of get to know each other a little, but I don't think they know each other enough. But I really still enjoyed it, and getting to know the character, or kind of seeing or getting told what's happened with the characters from the previous books. I really enjoyed that. That just made my heart happy. So these are the 5 books I have finished so far this month, and right now my top favorite is Anchor in the Storm by Sarah Sundin. I just love the way she can pull me into her characters and care about the characters and the way the characters develop and grow. I just, yeah, she has a way with words and stories, and that is my favorite of the month so far. How are you doing so far this month? And have you read a book that is going to make your favorites list for the year? I would love to chat in the comments below. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and I hope you have a great day. Bye.